Do you think I came into this documentary with a game plan?
Yeah. Yeah, you wanted to make a human interest story. You said that right from the beginning, that you and your sister had discussed it, and that that I was the best thing about this film. I think you've always been trying to manipulate the situation. I don't think you do particularly care about truth. I think that you care about making something that works as a piece of entertainment.
I'm only filming what I can see.
Well, you're not really, are you? You're cutting things together in all sorts of ways.
How do you mean?
Well, like I said, like that ending that you had previously, you know, you had shots of my family in it, which suggests that the thing that I was turning away from was my family, and that's never been the case. That's you deliberately making a choice to make me look bad so that you've got a more convenient ending to your film and a more convenient character.
Do you think I'm trying to manipulate the situation now?
Yes.
The guy behind the glass is Matthew Alford. He was my sister's old friend from school. One day he called me up and said he was going to solve a Hollywood murder mystery. So I paid him a visit and he told me the story.
The search continues tonight for a missing Hollywood screenwriter.
No one has heard from Gary Devore since early Saturday.
They searched by air, by car, by internet. Still no word from the writer, who's been missing now for 2 days.
56-year-old Gary Devore is a veteran screenwriter who has worked on some of Hollywood's most successful films.
Last night, the TV show America's Most Wanted dramatized the case of 56-year-old Gary Devore. So far, the program has not generated a single lead.
There has been a major break in the year-long mystery of missing Hollywood screenwriter Gary Devore.
Today, investigators were back on the scene trying to figure out how Devore's vehicle went off the bridge above the aqueduct without damaging any road barriers.
CHP investigators say it looks like an accident, but Devore's widow is making the TV talk show rounds, calling the death suspicious.
In my own mind, feel that there is crime here. I do not feel that my husband drove off of this bridge.
Matt was convinced he could solve the mystery. So I agreed to document his results.
When he was last heard from.
The ending is so unsettling that it could have come from one of Devore's movies.
And there are reports that the body was found with no hands.
This is a collection of stuff that I've amassed over about 2 years. This is Gary's diary from 1997. Whole bunch of stuff and notes in there. Oh, I think that might be Bo. And then a whole bunch of like FBI Freedom of Information Act requests about Gary, newspaper articles about Gary without a trace.
Do you want to go
his
and see
birth.
Bo? Do you want to go and see Bo quickly?
Yeah. Just I will do, but he'll be all right in a minute. Birth certificate, Gary's army record. Oh God, I mean you can tell. Like there's a lot of stuff there. Anyway, Bo seems to have calmed down, which is good. But I'm just gonna have a quick check on him. And also I need to go and put Spike Snappy on. So give me a couple of minutes.
It's such a nebulous thing that I've been doing, Will, the last 2 or 3 years.
Why are you doing it?
Well, it's just, it is an interesting case. If anyone's ever going to find a solution to this, to what happened to Gary, it's going to be me. no one else will ever bother to do it.
Matt was a full-time parent. He also had a PhD in film and propaganda, and he'd written a book about the politics of Hollywood.
He's Matthew Alford. Matthew, an expert and author.
Author of Real Power, Hollywood Cinema and American Supremacy.
Is Dr. Matthew Alford, whose research focuses on propaganda in the United States.
The CIA and the Department of Defense are trying to promote their own image by using movies. Basically, they go on set and try to contact screenwriters at an early stage and try to encourage them to support the CIA's national security line. Red Dawn, Zero Dark 30, The Peacemaker, Tears of the Sun, Black Hawk Down. We know from a CIA advisor who was on set, he says we deliberately made sure we excised that from the film.
He wanted to prove that Gary Devore had been assassinated because of the movie he was writing.
When the body was pulled out of the water, private autopsy said, well, there's some confusing elements here because the body hasn't got any hands.
This is Gary's car, driving down the main road. He goes past the aqueduct. He decides, for no... That didn't happen. Well, it might have. He decides to turn around against oncoming traffic at 1 o'clock in the morning, and he finds the only gap in the guardrail. That means he plunges into an aqueduct here, which is running along here. He probably dies instantly. The car fills up with water. His mobile phone cuts out instantly.
So why is that odd?
There are huge problems for a start. First of all, why would anyone turn around on a main road? Why did nobody see Gary driving against traffic? Thirdly, why were his headlights off, in the off position? And it's clear that that couldn't have happened during the accident because they would have to have been turned off deliberately and consciously. At 1 o'clock in the morning, you need your lights on. I'm going to see what it's like to drive with headlamps turned off in the dark, which is supposedly what Gary did, driving between 55 miles an hour and 90 miles an hour. That is absolutely terrifying. That is horrible. I am not doing that again. That is horrible. Gary could not have driven like that, not in a month of Sundays. I don't think he'd even better drive straight, let alone get into that unofficial hard shoulder over there and then drive on it for 300 yards pretty straight. I just don't think it could have happened. Things were absent from his car when it was dragged out of the water, including his gun and his laptop, which contained the political script that he was writing about.
Almost every night, Matt was video calling Wendy, Gary's widow. She was giving him all the information she had. However, it had been 14 years and she still hadn't got an answer.
How much of a distraction has it been?
I mean, he's totally obsessed with it. That he lives, breathes and eats Gary Devore. He's on Skype to Wendy, he's on Skype to someone else, and it's just, and then he goes to sleep, he probably dreams about it, and then he wakes up and he starts talking about it. He's completely obsessed with it. This is a children's bedroom. This is my bedroom. And this is Matt's bedroom. Stroke office.
Do you want him to stop doing it?
Do I want him to stop chasing around a conspiracy theory that actually adds no value to his life? I think probably if I didn't, I'd be insane.
Well?
Yeah.
What?
Wendy just said on Skype that I should go to LA. I think I should probably say no.
Wendy advised Matt to go and visit one of Gary's old filmmaking friends in London. Just before the time he disappeared, Gary had eaten lunch with John Irvin.
Hello. Hi, John. It's Matthew Alford.
Hi, Matthew.
Hello. Nice to meet you, John.
Thank you. Come in.
Thank you. This is Will, my cameraman, or well, director, really.
It was obvious to me that he was feeling really unhappy. I mean, I seen Gary cry out of misery at being and utterly lost. He wasn't really in the conversation. He was having trouble with the script he was writing, which he talked more about not the script, but about, did you know that there was a slush fund in Panama? He was speaking more as a journalist than he was as a screenwriter. He was talking as an investigator.
John Irvin told us more about the screenplay that Gary Devore was writing, which was basically about a group of rogue CIA agents robbed $40 million worth of drug money from the Panamanian Central Bank in 1989. And we don't quite know where Gary got that idea from. Where are we going? So this is called Sham Castle, and it's a folly, kind of building called a folly, which means that there's no substance to it. If you look behind it, you'll see nothing. It's purely there for show. And basically, this is kind of, for me anyway, a sort of representative, if you like, of democracy in a way, or at least our democracy. The Roman Empire used gladiatorial combat, throwing Christians to the lions, all that kind of thing, to keep the population distracted. And the same thing is here now in the current US empire. They use TV, media, and of course cinema. If we could prove, we could be the only people to ever demonstrate unequivocally that the United States had killed someone in the Hollywood industry purely for reasons of censorship, then it would be huge. It doesn't matter that you don't really know who Gary Devore is, that he's not mega famous. He's famous enough for it to matter.
Western intelligence agencies exist to protect their people. But it's easy to doubt the integrity of organizations that work in such a secretive manner. The Kennedys, Martin Luther King, Marilyn Monroe, Princess Diana, Dr. David Kelly, and Yasser Arafat are just a few popular examples of suspected government hits. Lesser known are the cases of writers and journalists. Gary Webb broke the story of how US security services imported thousands of tons of crack cocaine into Los Angeles. Then in 2004, he shot himself in the head. Twice. And Michael Hastings, his journalism forced the US commander in Afghanistan to resign. After that, Hastings wrote a profile about the head of the CIA. But he passed away before it could be published.
We've got Robbie coming around in a minute.
And Robbie's a bit worried about me. Thinks I'm taking it too far.
Who's Robbie?
He was a colleague of mine, or is a colleague of mine. We wrote together this article for The Guardian, which was about the impact of the CIA in Hollywood. Hello, come in.
How's it going, Matt?
Good to see you.
You too.
And come on in.
And I'm not sure if you've mentioned it yet, but or if you intended to, but you know, of course, you've received an informal warning.
I haven't mentioned that at all on camera because I wasn't going to, because I didn't want to overplay it.
I don't think you can overplay it, because I think that, you know, when you receive a warning from a CIA and DoD contractor and who said to you, back off the CIA, you're going too far with this now. These people can and will ruin your life and come knocking on mine and your doors. I think that's a pretty sobering thought.
Oh man, I don't know. I'll tell you what, in a way, wouldn't it be great if it wasn't a conspiracy? Because it's a lot less scary. The world's a lot nicer. The government isn't bumping people off left, right and centre.
We had a minor problem. Matt had done piles and piles of research, and he wanted every last bit of it in the film. He wanted to make something seriously political. But I didn't. I wanted to make a film about him. After all, he was either going to spark a political revolt or get assassinated.
Do I look that bad?
Well, your shirt's half undone.
Oh, well, that's just because of the mic. We're about to go and see Brian Neve, a lecturer at the University of Bath.
Come in, hi. Hi, are you all ready?
I'm making absolutely classical documentary on the edge.
Partly it's my own journey, so it sort of has got that narrative. Like, we've filmed me at home, as with the chaos of 2 kids under 3 and a shaky relationship with a wife. I'm wondering if there's any way that the university could support, whether financially or through a travel bursary or through providing some kind of legitimacy for this project, or is it a bit, I don't know.
Well, I just don't think the university is going to provide money. I think it's a great project, but I think it's a great project that's destined to be coming out of your own commitment, really, and to some extent your own money.
Of course, the script is now gone. Everything is gone.
If he could earn money from doing this kind of stuff, then his life would be totally sorted.
And he said, I'm going to make this the hardest hitting piece of material the studio has ever read.
Why don't you give up?
Oh, because I think once you start on something, you want to see it through. That's anything. You don't turn on a film on the TV and say, oh, do you know what, I'm really loving this film, but I can't be bothered watching the end of it.
Yeah, but if it's that annoying and it's that difficult to find an answer.
Everything's annoying. You're writing a letter to your best buddy, Terry, and your pencil snaps. You know, you carry on. It's the same thing with this. We're going for 2 weeks. I don't think she'll actually say you shouldn't have gone away. She might have done if we were properly together. She might have made that case.
If Matt proved an assassination, it would be great for the film and his reputation. If he didn't, I was worried about how the film might end.
So we're seeing Claudia tomorrow before we fly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're at Claudia Christian's house.
Claudia played a starring role in Babylon 5. But Matt knew her better as Gary Devore's ex-wife.
Hello!
Hi,
Nice to meet you.
Claudia. Soaking wet out there. Come on in.
You could just say, oh, do you want a cup of tea, and we'll follow you through to the room.
Do you want a cup of tea?
I'd love a cup of tea, please.
Come on in.
When I heard that he was writing a script and he disappeared, and when they finally found the car, that his gun was gone and his computer was gone and his, script was gone, I don't know, all this stuff. I thought, wow, he dug too deep on that. That was my immediate thought. Everybody presumed that the car and the body was planted there. Some of my friends went out with infrared, and they actually went through that whole area, including the aqueduct. And they didn't find anything, and then a year later they did find him there. If he was poking his nose into something that he shouldn't be poking his nose into, then that would make sense. But with Gary, there's all this speculation and all these weird red herrings and conspiracy and stuff. So in my mind, there's got to be something to it, but what it is, I don't have a clue.
On the flight, Matt told me about Gary's life. Gary was born in 1941 in LA. He always wanted to be a cowboy when he grew up. After leaving the army when he was 20, he drove trucks cross-country for his dad's company. He spent years writing and eventually got his big break on the Christopher Walken movie, Dogs of War, in 1980. Gary was friends with Kurt Russell, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was best man at Tommy Lee Jones's wedding. After a string of successful films and some marriages that didn't work out, he finally settled down with actress Wendy Oates. And on the 27th of June 1997, he was driving home to hand in his latest script. And then disappeared.
Got to Los Angeles and we're about to get the bus to Santa Monica. It's time to stop looking like quite such a bird.
We got 2 days before we go and see Wendy, yeah?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Putting on sun cream. It's pretty hot. I got quite badly burnt on the first day.
Food. Where do you want to eat?
I don't mind. Wendy told Matt that someone had already made a TV documentary about Gary for E! Entertainment Network. So Matt tracked down the producer who worked on it.
So it was 2001, and that was 10 years ago. I was a different person, much more ambitious and paranoid person. The show I was doing this episode for was called Mysteries and Scandals, and I thought we had a pretty solid half-hour mystery. And turned in the cut. I followed up asking when it was going to air, and I was told it's not going to. And I wasn't told why. The fact that all of this happened and it never aired, it's fitting. Maybe somebody didn't like the idea of some of this information getting out. Who knows? The paranoid, Fox Mulder in me is just like, oh yeah, somebody got to him. Somebody called up and said, you're not going to air this information. As time goes on, you start to look back and you go, that's kind of silly. But I talked to a lot of strange people and had a lot of strange conversations, and I do think there's something very suspicious about how he died and how the investigation was done afterwards.
I am so glad that we just got that interview.
Yeah.
So glad.
Yeah, I know, it's unbelievable. Although I am shitting myself a bit now, though.
Have we still got time to go to the library? Some of this just isn't available through normal channels in England, or indeed through university search engines either.
Oh my God, I didn't know all that. What was wrong with Gary's hand?
Gary's hand was deformed. His pinky finger was deformed. It was curled up in a way that he couldn't straighten.
When they found the skeleton, the coroner said the cause of death was unknown. Wendy was suspicious, so she got a second opinion from another coroner, who was alarmed by the fact the body had no hands. The police looked again and found hand bones in the car. But the coroner said they weren't Gary's.
No one could say for certain whose hand bones they were. And then all the bones were cremated before anyone could question anything.
For a couple of nights, we were staying at Matt's friend's house.
It would be good if we could come up with a plausible theory for when we arrive at Wendy's house. Yeah. It says here that his car window was open, so maybe his belongings just floated out of his car.
But even so, it would have had to have floated out of a window. And why didn't Gary get out of the window when he crashed into the water? Unless he was knocked unconscious. But if he was knocked unconscious, why were there no evidence of significant head trauma? As the autopsies make clear, there was no evidence of significant head trauma.
Okay, so this is the mystery.
Gary is driving from Santa Fe to California on a 14-hour journey. He fills up at Flagstaff, then Fenner, then has a cup of coffee at 1 a.m. in Mojave. He leaves heading south and then disappears. Along this road is an aqueduct bridge, which Gary should have passed. But despite there being guardrails, the car is found here a year later. A man finds the car, there's a body inside, but there's no gun, no laptop, no hands, no damage to the guardrails, the lights are turned off despite crashing at night, and there's no witnesses. But he was writing a film script that might have contained sensitive information. We need to speak to the guy that found him.
Everybody wants to know is how a San Diego man cracked the case.
Doug Crawford, the unemployed lawyer, has faced lots of suspicion since he did what the police couldn't. He tracked down Gary Devore.
Crawford laid out the case and where Devore could be found in great detail, and that has raised all sorts of questions as to how Crawford knew so much.
He isn't giving interviews today, although we did manage to speak to him a little bit yesterday. Do you feel like a hero?
No, not at all. Actually, you know what? I feel like a suspect.
Again, police emphasize Douglas Crawford is not a suspect.
Douglas Crawford wouldn't reply to emails, but Matt still wanted to find him.
Is it down here or down over there?
My phone's not even picking anything up.
Oh, it's broke again?
Yeah.
Is this even an address?
It's confusing because I can't see the numbers now. We'll have to go back out and have a look. Sorry.
Changing your clothes all the time is a nightmare for continuity. Matt.
Emailing Wendy. Told her that we've had no luck finding Doug. But that we'll see her tomorrow. No word from Wendy.
Maybe it's your phone.
Phone's gone again. Turned it off, turn it back on again. That's it.
Okay, where's that?
It doesn't sound right at all, that's
I hope Wendy's replied and said it's all okay.
We're just trying to find Wendy's place where we're staying for the next few days. Must be one of these. Is it?
Matt had never met Wendy in the flesh before. He'd only ever spoken to her on the internet.
Oh, hello. Nice to see you.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Come on in.
Fine, well. I'll get my...
Hi, Wendy.
Hi,
Nice to meet you, I'm Will.
It's nice to meet you. Hi.
Yeah. Let me just go. I'll get my bag out
your
here.
Bag. Here.
Very kind.
I have it. It's nothing compared to the weight of mine.
She treated us like one of the family.
Stack up the groceries. What do you kids like? You're not Timmy. You'll always be. What do you like to eat? You like pizza?
I don't think there's anything I don't eat.
Matt and Wendy got on really well. They chatted in the lounge, in the dining room, in the toilet, and out at lunch.
I think Will wants to get you talking about the final phone call.
All right. Succinct and to the point.
Well, that would be lovely.
That's what you're getting.
So on the night that Gary was driving home, what was the last thing he said to you?
The last time I spoke to him was at about 1:15 in the morning. I said, I'll wait up for you. And he said, no, don't do that, which was really strange. And I said, Gary, are you all right? And he said, I am pumping pure adrenaline here. He said, I'll see you later. I never heard from him again.
One sugar?
What are we doing today?
Wendy wants us to meet her friend, Karen. Good morning, Wendy. Hi. What else are we doing?
Go and see Karen.
During the time Gary was missing, Wendy was with our friend Karen when something odd happened. A total stranger came up to them in a restaurant and claimed to know Gary.
He looked at me and he said, I am really your friend. You need to quit talking so much about the Gary Devore case.
He takes me out and says, look, but I'm a spy.
A spy?
He said Gary had worked on 2 projects which he delivered to him.
So he was saying Gary was a spy too?
Yes.
In 1997.
The idea that Gary was some kind of secret agent wasn't as far-fetched as it sounded. Matt had found that Gary's diary was full of scrawlings about terror tactics and crack cocaine and laser weapons testing. And he had friends who worked at the CIA. The problem was, Wendy didn't believe this guy and never got in touch with him again. But she did remember his name.
Will!
Oh, shit.
Look who I've just found. Don't film his name. Don't film his name.
Well, we can blur it out.
He's a doctor. He's done a BA in science and MA in computers, and there's a mobile phone number, an office number on here. This guy not only is involved in a bunch of weird technology, but also claims that he works with Gary. Guess who we just found online? Carlos. Got a mobile number for him and an office number. I think we should ring him as soon as possible.
Are you kidding? If this man backs up what he said years ago, if he stands up for what he said, it will be so shocking to me, I don't know.
You better stop, really. It's getting quite late.
We're about to solve the greatest mystery of all time. Did the Scooby Gang ever give up because it was 10:20?
If he was a spy, it makes more sense, because it means he would have had information at his fingertips that wouldn't have been common knowledge, possibly stuff that the CIA didn't want getting out.
Whether I believe wholly or not in this man, his was the most far-fetched of all the things.
Wendy didn't believe the spy theory. The fact was, Gary was a university dropout and an ex-trucker who hadn't even been abroad, not even on holiday.
So, what I'm really looking forward to is Frank Thorwald coming. I think it's fair to say that Frank...
Yes, okay.
Hello.
I just need to measure this louver, dear.
Okay.
Just a minute. Okay, is this a 2.5 or a 3? This is 2. This is 2, and this is...
You might have to do that later, Matt.
It's like the...
Frank Thorwald worked for presidential administrations like Reagan and George Bush Sr. His roles included advising on national security. He was one of the many people who came into Wendy's life when Gary disappeared.
I can't believe he's doing it. I don't really know what his purposes are.
Wendy was saying last night, Will, that Frank's putting in so much effort to come here when he's extremely ill that
I wouldn't do it.
Maybe he's coming to say something more than he said before.
So we're meeting some serious ex-government guy in some random motel.
I know. All feels a bit... Ashley, turn your camera off. We don't really want to spook him, do we?
Seriously.
There, it's on silence now. We're in good shape.
So, do you think it was a cover-up?
I think it was a cover-up, yes. Absolutely. Too many things occurred. Trying to think of a good way to say this to you. It's all of the things that occurred could not have happened without somebody at a high level directing it. For all Wendy's records were stolen from her house. Nothing else was stolen. The dentist suddenly said, yes, it was Gary, after saying no. If you did the mathematics on the odds of this, it would be astronomical that all of these things could have occurred. Why? What caused the cover-up? That's another question.
Wendy said that Gary had never been abroad, never went to university. But is there any evidence that you know of that might imply that Gary was a spy?
Well, as I was researching this, I had talked to credible sources that had indicated that he had certainly done travel outside of the United States to Central America, Panama area, some of the countries in that part of the world.
This is exactly what I came to LA for. In fact, I didn't even think we would get anything like that.
At the time of Gary's disappearance, Frank called the CIA and spoke to a senior officer about Gary's case.
We chatted about Gary's disappearance, and it was a strange conversation. He told me to go look at a website, and I went to it, and it was all in pornography. I mean, everything in the entire world was in there.
Why would someone suggest that you go onto a pornographic website?
It's a way of getting leverage on people to get them to do what you want.
To me, that is the CIA's way of saying, stop asking questions.
Hey, Will. Wendy bollocked me for spending too much money on wine. She said that $15 for a bottle of wine was really expensive. What were we playing at?
Case closed?
And you just say whatever you want. Try not to say what we're planning on doing and what's happened. You just got to talk about how you're feeling right now.
I don't even really know how I feel. I think I feel daunted and a bit worried at the back of my mind. I've got anxiety. It makes me think that the problems I'm having with my phone are not just... I really did just think it was just a phone being annoying, but now I'm thinking maybe it's because there is some kind of computer that's picking up the things that I'm saying, because pretty much every email, every text message that I send includes the word CIA.
No, like he's paranoid that he's going to be blown up in a nuclear war, and that's what motivated him to do his degree in history and politics and watch every nuclear war film. It's fear, probably, that motivates him. Fear of corrupt authority and fear of his own death because of corrupt authority. He's always been a bit sensitive, bless him.
I feel that really close to the stage of saying publicly, I believe this. It makes a lot of sense now to believe this.
To believe what?
To believe that it's an assassination by the CIA.
What the hell happened to this window?
Well, I've just feeling really terrible because last night, a few hours ago, I woke up on the floor having fallen off the bed and broken our host's blinds. And now that you mention it, I was actually having, for the first time in several years, a nuclear war apocalyptic dream. And in fact, I remember thinking whilst having the dream, whilst the bombs were going off, I was thinking, I've got to tell Will about this because I told him before that I hadn't had one for years. And it's obviously a sign of sort of concern, you know, it's like, I think that's where it comes from, it's an anxiety.
Matt talked about the politics of Hollywood in great detail. Every day. To the point where it was difficult for me to edit it out of this film. He was saying things about the CIA manipulating scripts and the military censoring films, and how there was a sinister side to Hollywood, and how everyone had an agenda. And how many mainstream films were fundamentally brainwashing people. He wanted to take me to see a reporter who could illustrate how security services operate in influencing Hollywood.
Jesus. Oh, dear.
Hello?
Come on in. Things are kind of a mess. We're in the process of moving.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, David. Where would you like us to go?
Oh, it's in the living room, someplace.
Sure. For some reason, I thought you were about 5'5". You're enormous. Have you got copies of all these? Or are you
Yeah. Yeah, you can have it.
better read them. That,
You can have it.
you seem to have made a career based on investigating kind of skullduggery.
The cover page is the copy of the brochure that they give out to Hollywood producers on cooperating with the U.S. military and making films and TV shows. People should know that their kids are seeing a product that's been tampered with by the military and that their kids are being basically recruited.
David Robb is one of the few people in the world to have gained temporary access to a private collection of documents that detail military cooperation with Hollywood.
This is the actual script from Wind Talkers. There's a character in the script called the Dentist. And what he likes to do after a battle is to go around and pull out the gold fillings of Japanese soldiers. I have actual documentary footage of a Marine pulling out the gold fillings of a dead Japanese soldier. It's a war crime. The letter that the Marine Corps wrote, this has to go. They don't want the face of war to be a dead Japanese soldier with flies buzzing around America pulling the gold teeth out. That's not the face of war. They want a heroic face of war. The 1940-41, Germany was overrunning Poland, and all over Europe, the Nazis were attacking other countries, and the United States wouldn't get involved until we're directly attacked. Now the people will go to war at the drop of a hat.
After the hugely unpopular war in Vietnam, the Pentagon needed to revamp the image of the US military. Films like Top Gun spearheaded a government initiative that recruited young people and prepared the public for a wave of all-American violence overseas. Inspired by the Pentagon's success in Hollywood, the CIA and even the White House increasingly edited film and TV scripts in exchange for money-saving deals and support, using on-screen entertainment to portray themselves and their interests in a positive light.
The constant drip, 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 drip of having military propaganda inserted into American entertainment product has had, I think, a terrible effect on the American psyche.
Since the late 1980s, the United States have used military force in 16 countries, challenging not only dictatorships, but popular governments and functioning democracies.
The fact is, Will, my kids, for example, will eventually watch military-backed films like Iron Man and Man of Steel. And they're going to learn that war is some kind of necessary thing to kill bad guys.
So you want to ban these films?
No. I just want people to be aware of what they're watching. And like with Gary, I want to know how far they'll go to control information. It's getting harder and harder for academics like me to find out about all this. So the only thing I can really do is speak to people who've experienced it. Good to meet you, Haskell.
Oh, geez, good to see you. It's all we're corresponding. I read your book, and now you're making pictures. Okay. They have me here as number 7, potentially dangerous because of background or activity in groups.
So you're on the same list as the kind of people who are proper terrorists.
I'm number 7.
Despite winning Academy Awards, Haskell Wexler has been a victim of the national security apparatus. He's been illegally surveilled, and he's had his passport confiscated.
Why did they do that to you?
What had you done? Why did they
I had done nothing except being a radical. I would, as I said, I was active in the civil rights movement. I was in the anti-war movement. I was an internationalist, They don't want you to make money. They don't want you to be well known. They don't want you to be a force in our system. It's just bullshit.
Was Gary's script really that scandalous? Stealing money from a bank account?
Well, there is something that I haven't told you.
What do you mean?
Gary's film was about a CIA bank robbery. It seems very, very likely that that bank robbery was not to steal money.
What do you mean, not money?
We could get ourselves in massive shit on this project, okay? We could, but we're not going to be dumb about it, are we?
What the hell were they stealing?
So, well, get me to say this in any way you want, really, but the dictator of Panama, Manuel Noriega, made secret recordings of senior US officials, senators and CIA officials, having sex with underage prostitutes, male and female, and taking drugs. So they had to go in and get the tapes. That's what was in Gary's script note. That's what his film was all about. Isn't it notable from what Frank said that Frank is really, really careful not to say where he got this information from? Secondly, Frank is really careful not to say a specific country of where Gary went, and he's really careful not to say when it was. I'd wager a bet that Gary was there during the 1989 invasion. and you put an anti-war guy or a guy who's becoming anti-war at that point into that melee, and then he comes out of it, and then he's going to write a script about it, and then as he's transporting that script and presumably all the research, which for all we know could be copies of the sex tapes, and then he disappears that night, and then he turns up dead over a year later.
Why are you only telling me this now? No wonder you've been so paranoid. Seriously though, that is a bit unnerving.
Let's just assume, just for the sake of argument, that I did want to overthrow the government, okay? So? So? What did Thomas Paine and George Washington and and the founders of this country wanted to do? They wanted to kick you Brits out of America.
It's not good. I think they were dried peas. They're really hot, and I just had a huge mouthful of them.
No, they were wasabi. Like they're half wasabi, half peas.
What's wasabi?
It's like a Japanese like horseradish.
Delicious. Right, let's put this in the rubbish bin, as we English like to say.
Right, let's hit the road.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get my head around this accident report for several weeks now, and I still don't get it.
Is there any damage to the bridge or to the fence leading up to the bridge that would indicate a car went over the side there? Have you been able to see that out there? That's one of the interesting things. There's no physical evidence that would indicate he went off somewhere over the bridge. There are areas where he could have plunged off between the bridges, but of course, that's just speculation at this point. We'll just have to see what lawmen come up with.
If it wasn't an accident, how did the car get into the water? It could have been rolled in from the side, or when no cars were around at the dead of night, it could have been dropped in by helicopter, using the nearby Air Force base that was 20 miles away.
It feels really weird trying to use an automatic on the other side of the road.
What is that arrow on your dashboard?
The arrow on the dashboard tells us to stay right, because as British people, we're always liable to drift off to the left, as I've found several times from going around just this car park.
So this is our last interview. Who is it?
We're off to see the private investigator, Dennis O'Keefe. He's done over 12,000 cases over a long lifetime, and he claims that he knows exactly what happened to Gary Devore.
I've had a lot of stories written about me. Usually they misquoted me. As a matter of fact, the National Enquirer totally fabricated the entire story and attributed it to me. I was very upset. If you misquote me, I'm going to nail you. All right? I want to make that very blunt. This was not a homicide. They had a felony pullover there at a place called Vista Point.
On the night Gary was driving home, there was a police incident at Vista Point. The police were stopping traffic at 2:10. Gary was travelling in the other direction at an earlier time, so this wasn't thought to have affected him.
They closed down both sides of the freeway. And there were 6 police cars. But the point is, they reported that the freeway was closed at 2:10, right? Well, how long does it take to close the freeway? First, you got to stop the cars. You got to zigzag, get all the cars slowed down, and stop them. Then they got to go out and put their flares out. That's 20 minutes, isn't it? 25 minutes. Back that off from 210. What do you have? 145?
So Dennis is saying Gary would have seen a blockade.
You're tired. You're another hour and a half to 2 hours from home. What would you do?
So you might turn around, is that what you're saying?
That's right. Why not? According to his wife, he had a gun in the car.
But he turned around and went against oncoming traffic?
That's right.
How do you explain some of the other bigger questions or inconsistencies?
The hands.
Missing hands.
Oh, yeah. When he went off in the water, boom, what do you think the airbag did?
Went off?
Yes. Where are his hands?
On the wheel?
The steering wheel, and the airbag goes boom. My hands are like here. Hit the water, boom, there's my hands. I drowned. And little fishes come by, and he starts nibbling. Maybe 1 or 2 bones went with them.
What is it? Why do I care? Why do I care? Tell me why I care.
Why do you care? Why is that pissed you off?
I don't know.
He became like the acclaimed investigative journalist. You know, that would do his sense of self-worth and pride. Obviously, that would be enormous for that. And, you know, he'll expose someone. And in terms of career-wise, then, you know, he'll be recognised then and he might be able to find work, paid work more easily.
I feel a bit lame in being involved in all this.
I think he's made bad decisions about his priorities, and he should have prioritised us and our life over some research that I see as a hobby. You know, perhaps we could have like a nicer house and be happy and, you know, just have a normal kind of life instead of having one that's really like unconventional.
Finally, I thought we had an answer, and the film would slowly begin turning back to Matt's life.
It's clear, page 95 of the CHP report, it's not known whether the closure of the northbound traffic lanes of State Route 14 was a factor in the collision. But how do we miss this? Because this suggests that O'Keefe's explanation is just... He's made a complete arse of it. It's clear, it's in black and white.
Matt had changed his mind again. Apparently the roadblock was only on one side of the freeway, so it would not have affected Gary.
Have you got my lighter?
No. You right?
Yeah, fine. You go, it's wobbly. The aqueduct and how you feel.
All right, hang on. Well, we're off to go and see the aqueduct, which is the main reason for coming to California, really. To actually... I don't know how I feel about it.
changed my mind pretty much every day about the likelihood of a conspiracy. And Will keeps telling me that it's not good for the film. Will also keeps asking me questions about Sue and the kids, as though he's constantly thinking of storylines.
Missing home? Are you missing Sue and the kids? How's it feel to be so far away from home?
I'm worried about what he's going to put in the film.
So much evidence.
And so little proof.
We tried to get down to the aqueduct, but there was a fence all the way around it. Matt tried the spy again.
What's wrong?
Just feeling a bit sick about the whole thing. Don't know what's wrong with me today.
You missing home?
Well, if you keep asking me those questions, you and I are going to fall out, I'm afraid. The first thing I'm going to do is try and contact that spy, the mysterious Carlos.
And what will happen when he comes back from LA?
I'll have to get a job, won't he? Because he can't just flit around the world chasing conspiracy theories. He's got a mortgage to pay and kids to bring up and his part to play.
Wow, that sounds like you've had a brilliant couple of weeks. And you've got, yeah, that'll be brilliant. And then we'll have presents together and big cuddles.
He's been researching things like Gary Devore and nuclear war conspiracies for a very, very long time. It doesn't seem to have gotten anywhere. It just fills his time and occupies his mind like a hobby. And he really, really can't continue to do that.
If we can get convincing evidence...
Yeah?
Not you, I'm talking to Will. If we can get convincing evidence that Carlos worked for Rocketdyne, such as a pay slip or even something like a name badge or a uniform or something, or photographs, even better, then he would be suddenly a credible witness. And we're going to try and find out if he's telling the truth or not about that guy who we weren't sure if he died in an accident or was maybe killed by the police.
Kill what, please?
Oh my God.
If that guy what you're ringing, what happens when he lies?
Well, we don't know if he's lying, but he...
What happens?
What happens if he lies?
Yeah.
Well, no one will like him. But if he's telling the truth, then it might mean that that the person we thought died in a car accident actually might have been killed. But we'll have to see what he says. It's nothing for you to worry about. It's just a story that me and Will are looking into.
The day we left America, we interviewed Wendy for the last time. And something she said stood out more than anything else. And she wasn't the only person to say it.
I think there is a remote possibility. He's alive.
As far as I'm concerned, Gary's body has never been found. The car was found, but not Gary.
Gary was a very, very determined man. So if he says, I want to change my life, reinvent myself, I think he's absolutely capable of it.
Look up at the camera, Gary.
I love this. I love this color. I always wanted a Ferrari this color.
Gee, Brittany, there's your phone.
Wendy has a daughter called Brittany, who Gary treated like his own. He was a huge support for her while she was studying for her degree. When she graduated, it was 10 months after the discovery at the aqueduct.
Join me in celebrating our graduates' achievements today.
At my daughter's graduation from law school, the day that the graduation took place, a woman who worked in the administration office came up to me at the graduation. She said that there had been a male caller, very insistent, wanted to know whether Brittany Oates was graduating from law school that day.
Of the thousands of people that Wendy knew, who would anonymously ring the university switchboard to find that out?
And if it was Gary, why would he do that?
I think he wanted to know if what he had done had caused such havoc that she was not graduating.
In America, we met Michael Sands. He was Gary's publicist, and he had also done PR work for the CIA.
They set this thing up so no one knew anything. So, you know, did he go this way? Did he go that way? You know, someone created the perfect crime, and then the investigation is imperfect.
And Sands was always very sure about what he thought had happened to Gary.
I just, more importantly, have this certain sense that he's probably not in the country, but that with the help of some friends, he was able to leave.
He told Matt that if we gave him enough time, he could find out a way to prove that Gary was still alive for our documentary. So Matt continued to push him for information.
Anyway, look, let me just tell you briefly. I was on with my guy. He's with the Vice President of the United States right now.
It was starting to feel like a never-ending wild goose chase. I hung around Matt's house for weeks, hoping Michael Sands would call. I was filming everything, and I followed Matt everywhere.
I really didn't think that any... Why is he not allowed to? Does it a lot, doesn't he?
We decided we'd try the spy one more time, and then we'd finish filming. And by a complete stroke of luck, Matt had finally got hold of the family home number for Carlos, the alleged spy.
Just be slow and friendly.
Yeah. Oh, hi. Is that Julia? Is that Julia? I'm a friend of Wendy Devore. I think you met her a few years ago. Oh.
Don't call anymore.
Don't call anymore.
Will you ever stop thinking about this case?
I think probably I will always think about this case. Unless we can somehow come to a resolution, sort things out, find new information, you know, in the coming weeks, I think I will always think about the case, yeah. You know, I'm still doing stuff on it all the time, interviewing people, even when we haven't got a camera on them, you know? And Skyping with Wendy and chasing up new leads and phoning up people with you know, in America with fucking making a ridiculous phone bill out of it. I would like to leave you to edit this. And I think I said, you know, when we leave LA in August, I'm just going to leave you to it.
No. No. Bogey.
Amongst Gary's home video footage, there were hours for him alone, filming his dogs.
This is Gary's diary.
I find it amazing on what people can become fascinated by.
Whole bunch of stuff.
The Dog in the Mirror is an old Chinese fable, where a dog carrying a bone catches his reflection in a pond. When he perceives it to be a different dog with a better bone, he tries to snatch it and drops his own bone in the process. Psychologists say that fascination is driven by love and attachment, or by someone trying to fill a void in their life, like something's missing. But it all boils down to your perception. Because things might not be missing at all.
We need to talk about the film. You've juxtaposed the images of my family with your metaphor about the dog in the mirror, saying that I've let go of my family in exchange for a weird obsession. But that wasn't the case at all. You won't find people that would say that. You know, the whole point of this is meant to be a vehicle for me as a professional, as a journalist, as an academic, and at the moment it's looking more like a vehicle for me being a, you know, kind of failed hobbyist.
You're a communicator, because what you do there is going to go somewhere and tell some story. And so I say, you have some obligation as a communicator to try to have your decent persona, which can also be violent and interactive and entertaining, but to that, say that some of that came through my lens, through my persona, through who I am.
Can I do the jigsaw with him whilst we talk?
Not ideally.
10 minutes, Spike, and then I'll come and do the jigsaw.
Done. Yeah.
Oh, I would wish it was 1 minute.
Oh. Come on, let's give you your tea. And do you want to go and do the icing on the cakes? Yeah. Or that'll be a bit more thicker now, won't it? Have a little go? Well, it looks quite nice, doesn't it? Hope you're not dumbing down this film, huh?
What's that mean?
Dumbing down means that I'm trying to make a film about politics and baddies in government. And Will wants to make a blooming cookery show.
We haven't got any proof, that's the problem. I mean, I've been able to verify most of the stuff that you've said through secondary sources, but...
Please, I don't give a goddamn anymore. I'm in a really bad space. You don't understand. You've put through a huge amount of time and effort. You've spent money on your end. Will has spent money on his end and time and effort. I have spent money on mine. I am losing my home. My daughter doesn't have a job. And this is real and this is now. And I'm just, you know, something either has to break, or my suggestion to you, if you would like to make some real money off of this, is stop being an academician. Stop having a level of integrity about yourself and write as based on a true story and have one line of truth in the entire fucking thing and make up whatever you want.